In this demo, we're going to use Coverno again to demonstrate how to enforce the right behaviors for either an operations team member or a data protection specialist. And let's say that this person is responsible for deploying a WordPress application, one with stateful data, and it requires us to first deploy an Nginx web server. The policy that we're looking here is an example that is looking for a label called purpose, where a developer might have said that this manifest is designed for production use. And upon finding that label, we're going to look for a second label called data protection, which looks for a named policy that starts with K10. If it doesn't find this label in the manifest itself, it's actually going to reject the deployment of that Nginx server and associated WordPress application. So here's an example of an invalid policy that's misconfigured. It has the right purpose. It says it's for production use, but it's not using a valid named K10 data protection policy where it says none. Here's a correctly configured Nginx deployment where it's got the purpose production and it's specifying one of the already preset K10 gold policies, which is our highest level of standard for data protection services. Now let's go to the terminal and actually try to deploy both of these and see what happens. So we can see here that there was an error, that the API server has basically said through the admission controller, we're not allowed to deploy this deployment. It does not have a K10 name, and essentially this rejects deployment of this configuration. Now if we try the same thing to deploy the correctly configured deployment, we can see here that it was successful and it did not find any violations. Now this is a very powerful policy that you can also associate in Coverno what's called a generate policy. And a generate policy is as you would think. Upon matching a resource that comes into the API server, whether it's a deployment, whether it's a stateful set, and that it has the right matching data protection policy, the gold policy, we're going to go ahead and generate this associated resource, which is a K10 policy, which has the right RPO, has the right retention policy, has the right 321 backup and export, but most critically important is backing up to the right location profile, one that's using S3 object lock to provide immutable backups. So let's see what happened when we did that deployment. If we go top into our K10 instance, we can see that a new policy has shown up. And in fact, it generated a policy for that Nginx application. So you can see here that the power of enforcement can also mean we can control the right exact behavior of what we want deployed into the environment.